Welcome back. We continue here. Officials from various security and intelligence agencies have met members of the Madlanga Commission, this being done to discuss heightened security measures. The meeting follows the killing of Marius van der Merwe, who testified as witness D at the Commission. It is understood that yesterday's discussions highlighted the need to strengthen safety protocols for both witnesses and officials involved in this inquiry. Additional security measures will also be implemented over the next 2 days.
The Newzroom meeting was attended by officials from the SAPS, SANDF, State Security Agency, as well as officials from the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. The meeting was to discuss the safety and security of witnesses and officials attached to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. The meeting was held in Pretoria at the Newzroom Centre, and the meeting agreed to enhance the Commission's security operational plan over the coming days. While extensive measures have been put in place to secure witnesses and officials since the start of the Commission, the meeting identified a need to heighten these measures by roping in the Newzroom and all relevant role players. As investigations proceed into the murder of Mr. van der Merwe, members of the public are urged not to speculate. The Newzroom and the Commission will brief members of the media in due course.
Let's get more analysis now. Joining us in studio is Criminologist Russell Jones to give us his analysis on the Madlanga Commission, but also the killing of witness D. Russell, good to have you in studio despite the circumstances around this case. Now, when we hear more about Mr. van der Merwe, we do understand that he had already survived an assassination attempt back in September and knew very well that his life was in danger. Let's speak about this from a safety and wellness perspective. What does this tell us, especially about the level of sophistication in these criminal networks that we keep hearing about, but also the risks faced by individuals who challenge these networks themselves?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Chancellor. And also, I'd like to extend my condolences to the family of Marius van der Merwe. And I think as a society, we're outraged by it. The problem that we have in South Africa is we don't have an effective, capable guardian, which the police is supposed to provide across society. And that allows criminals to thrive. And as we've seen through the Madlanga Commission and the Ad Hoc Portfolio Committee in Parliament, that we don't have a functioning South African police service. And this has a knock-on effect where criminals can effectively be the biggest gang in town. And then anybody that speaks out against them or has an impact on potentially what they see as their business as a threat, it then puts them at risk with their life.
But also given that there was prior intelligence from what we gather, or threats against him. Where do you believe the gaps were, Russell? Is it from a protective detail? Could it be an issue of intelligence coordination, or maybe even just systematic failures in safeguarding high-risk individuals?
It's a combination of all of them. From a witness protection perspective, generally people who don't go into witness protection do so because you effectively are taken out of your life. You are put in a safe house and you are isolated from the world in your life, and people don't find that attractive. From an intelligence perspective, obviously you need criminal intelligence to work effectively to uncover these criminal networks. And then finally, from a personal protection perspective, if you don't identify the surveillance being conducted on you, then you are going to be attacked without your knowledge. And that's one of the problems that people don't fundamentally understand, is to protect an attack or to prevent an attack, you have to identify that in the planning phase. And if you miss those indicators, then the first thing you're going to know about it is, unfortunately, when you are attacked.
But what message does this assassination then send, especially to other community leaders or even whistleblowers themselves and security personnel who confront these criminal syndicates in hotspot areas just like Plastic City?
Yeah, it basically says don't mess with our business, because that's what these are. They're criminal businesses. And this is the strongest message that gets sent out. And it's not the first time. And it's happened many, many times. And unfortunately, though, it's becoming more and more often that we're seeing incidences like this, that if somebody impacts on some criminal network, whether it be financially or the risk of them going to jail because of some evidence, then that person is dealt with.
We're also learning that this has also affected his family. His wife describing him as a hero, and she's also quite devastated now. What does this then tell us about such violent loss? How does it affect the mental health of families, especially those for people who might be related to those working in the security sector? And what support systems are there or should be there for them?
First of all, it affects the mental health of the entire family and people that know them. You have the thing called the fear of crime, and obviously it's vicarious. So if you hear of something happening to somebody that you know in the same line of work or a member of family or your community, you then have a heightened fear of crime. And that leads to mental health issues and physical health issues, such as depression, anxiety, and even hypertension. So it has an effect on people's physical and mental well-being. Yeah. And unfortunately, if you don't deal with the vulnerability to that, then you can't address that issue.
Starting to learn more about this man, he played a major role in cleaning up Plastic City, or at least disrupting illegal mining activity within that area. A deeply entrenched crime, I must say. In your view, how likely is it then that this assassination could be directly linked to those kind of interventions? Of course, without preempting what the investigation or the police investigation will show.
Without definitive investigation or evidence, we can't say what it is. Obviously, the timing, he's been involved in the anti-mining stuff for quite a long time. Yeah. But obviously, he only testified a couple of weeks ago. So the timing of it is automatically suspicious. But without definitive evidence, we can't speculate.
Yeah, yeah. So following this assassination of someone so central, especially to crime-fighting efforts within his area, what immediate safety concerns must we be thinking about right now, Russell? Should the Brakpan community, for instance, and officials involved in the cleanup area, what kind of considerations should they make at this point?
Well, obviously, if a community comes together and stand together, they have this ability to communicate amongst each other, but they need the backup of a capable guardian, whether that be the police or a security force. So if you think about the capable guardian perspective from a crime environment, if there is no one to stop the crime, if there is that capable guardian being absent, then there's nothing to stop the criminals, and especially criminals that deal in extreme violence. And you need, unfortunately, either to stop the networks through crime intelligence, active police work, or you have to have the ability to protect yourself from that extreme violence as a community.
Yeah. As we start learning more about communities living near disused mines, for instance, communities near illegal mining sites often face this constant threat of violence. Let's speak about this. What immediate safety tools should protect residents and whistleblowers especially, who can give information about what's happening in their area?
Well, the first thing they need is guaranteed anonymity, and unfortunately this is again where a lot of people don't trust the police. If you look at the underreporting of all crimes, there is massive underreporting when you compare the Victims of Crime survey with the reported figures of the SAPS. And unfortunately that leads then to a situation where if people don't trust the police to come and protect them, then they feel isolated and they don't feel protected. So what can they do for themselves? They need to then engage some form of security service to be able to protect them. But if they can't afford it, then where does that leave them? That leaves them responsible for their own safety. And there's many measures you can take for your own personal safety. If you think of it like a jigsaw puzzle, and you need many pieces, from knowing how to identify threats, knowing how to pick up surveillance, knowing how to protect yourself with a less lethal, or even yourself as a weapon, as a last resort. But all these things come together, and it requires an effort on the person's behalf to be able to protect themselves in the absence of a capable guardian from a societal perspective.
Yeah. And Russell, as we wrap, we've heard from Nat Joints as well, who say that they've activated, or rather activated teams to find these killers, or the killers of Van der Merwe. Let's speak about this. What operational realities then determine whether such high-level responses actually succeed?